People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time and consistently supporting me. I hope you and yours and your loved ones are all safe and sound and these sort of things, and especially with what's going on globally. You know, I hope your health is tip-top, and I hope your mental health as well as your physical health is the same. And I would like to extend that to your loved ones. But moving forward, we might as well entertain the nonsense rumours that Arsenal have been linked with in relation to players. As we know, 98%, 99% of it is nonsense. You know, there might be a tiny bit of truth, but in ultimate truth, the only thing we can do is just comment on this. You know, it gives us something to do, especially, or something for me to do, and something for you to listen to as you go about your day. And for me, it kills time, really, in where there's nothing going on. Moving forward, we already know this already, but the Daily Mail's Sammy Mokbel has said Arsenal's transfer funds will be severely limited in the next window, with the club primarily looking at either free transfers or swap deals. Now, the free transfers I see as a fan that are available, obviously, look at Cavani, that looks like a decent one. The others don't really look too good. And again, we don't know, because we were told, obviously, the global dynamic has changed. Arsenal's financial situation has changed. But we were told these sort of things. Not the swap deals, I won't lie. But we were told limited funds, etc. last season. So we've had a year to sort of plan and work around this. And obviously, the way we're structuring the Pepe thing is generous to us. But we heard this sort of talk to then go and sign Pepe. My only point with that is until the summer comes and goes, we can't comment on things. There'll be no point getting up in arms. This might be true, it might not. I don't mind the swap deal thing, because you know, on one hand, it could level up the playing ground for a team like Arsenal that can't really work with funds if no one's going to spend a madness, really and truly. But you look at the swap deals, who could we really swap of value? You look at Aubameyang because of his contractual situation, but you don't really want to do that. You know, Lacazette, you know, you hear him with Partey, but here Atletico on that. You know, there's not really too many players I would look at and think, like if we really want a top player or a player that holds weight in football, and we go to their club and say, you know what, we'll meet you halfway, we'll give you a little bit of bread, but we'll throw in this player as well. There's not too many players in this Arsenal team you would look at and say, I'm having that sort of thing. But who knows, people. Moving away from that, and again, this one don't make sense, really and truly, but apparently Arsenal have joined Chelsea in the race for Barcelona outcast Neto as backup for Leno, but it did say we could be priced out of the move. I'm not too sure it means priced out in terms of finances, but I'd imagine the 30-year-old wants respectable wages, and it doesn't make no sense because he went to Barcelona. Now, he must have known he's going to be number 2 at Barca or whatnot, and it hasn't happened. And the big reason as to why he wants to leave is to play football. Why would he leave Barcelona and be number 2 to allegedly, based on what's said, to come to Arsenal and be number 2? Again, you shouldn't want to. It's levels in it, but no one wants to be number 2. But I'd rather be number 2 at the new camp, Barcelona, Lionel Messi trying to win things. Then no disrespect to Arsenal and Arteta's men, but Arsenal, which you don't know you're going to get game in, game out. There's no Champions League football. Better wages at Barca, weather better, stature of the club's bigger. So why would it make sense? It won't make sense. And probably being at 30, you know, depending on the transfer fee, his wages would probably be maybe not the most expensive, but he'd want a healthy one. He's 30. He's got goalkeepers obviously are a bit more generous in their playing time because they can go on sometimes to their 40 even. Look at it's Buffon's 40. I could be wrong. But he's going to want a decent wage, so it doesn't make sense to give a decent wage to someone, like, when I say decent, I mean more on the expensive side, to someone that's going to be a number 2, really and truly. Unless if they, you know, if they do want him as number 1 and there's question marks over Leno, then that's for another debate. But I'd imagine that, you know, there's no truth in that. I don't really think Martinez is a bad keeper, but I don't necessarily rate him. But I think he's calm in the number 2. Obviously, you've got Matt Macy and a couple of other men. If you could find, it's hard to come across good number 2, so don't get it twisted. You know, if you could find one that's sick and better than Martinez, I could potentially challenge Leno if Leno gets complacent. By all means, do that. But I just don't think it's going to happen. Obviously, he's been linked with Chelsea, and the bulk of that is apparently they want a goalkeeper, obviously with Kepa's stuff in mind. So we'll see how that one goes. Keeping up with the goalkeeping theme, people, and again, reports out of Spain have said Arsenal have set their sights on Areola, who returned to PSG. As you know, I believe he was involved in the sort of move that meant Courtois going to Real Madrid. Who went? Someone went PSG. Navas went PSG. My man went Real Madrid. Not Courtois. That's Chelsea's lad. You know, similar stuff, people. Obviously, apparently Madrid don't want to keep him permanent. You know, he's playing under Zidane. I would want to stay, really and truly. Obviously, not going to play with my man, but he probably wants to go where he can play first team football. And the picture looks modelled at at PSG as well, because they've got Navas. They might sign another goalkeeper. Who knows? You might come back and be given a chance, and business as usual. You just spent a year in Madrid. That could happen. But you'd imagine he'd be sold, and again, hasn't been linked with Chelsea in this particular article. But you'd imagine, I'm pretty sure if you type in his name in Chelsea, there's probably some recent reports. I don't see the claim in this. Again, the one theme I've just shown you is there's no smoke without fire. So maybe Arsenal are looking at a goalkeeper. If you was watching what's the game, the Schalke game, the goalkeeper that Arsenal were linked with, and he moved to Schalke last year, forgive me if I'm wrong, made a clanger against Dortmund. So yeah, just a bit of news. But maybe, if we read between the lines, if we're linked with two keepers and linked with a couple more, maybe indirectly the footballing world knows Arsenal are looking for a goalkeeper of some stature. Again, we've got a lot of problems in this team before you look at Leno. Like, no disrespect to Leno and Hector Bellerin. Like, I've got a lot of time. I like Leno. I really like Leno, and I'm a big fan of Bellerin. But as a fan, if I look at it as neutral as possible, if the team was fixed up in every way in that, for me personally, I don't come here and say on my videos like I do all the time, we need two centre midfielders of different profiles, box to box and creative. We need centre half, and I'm sure you lot would say the same, or maybe disagree and say other areas. Whatever you feel, if all these areas were fixed, if if we were sitting here and we're saying Arsenal's squad is near enough perfect, would you be looking at Leno and Bellerin and saying, maybe you can. You could sign a keeper that's a bit more commanding, collecting crosses, and has that aura a bit more. Maybe you could look at right back as well, because I do think if Hector Bellerin wasn't Hector Bellerin and it was, Joe Bloggs, people would look at that with a bit more scrutiny. I'm prepared to obviously give Bellerin another season or so, but I expect a bit more. What my point is that, there's a lot of, that like I said, that would be in an ideal world. But I'm not going to create more problems for myself. You haven't really fixed up the defence, and Leno hasn't had a decent defence to work with in front of. So why get rid of him? Because you're going to need to fix up defence, sign a couple players, and another goalkeeper. I wouldn't mind if Areola came here. Forgive me for mispronunciation, but it's probably just paper talk. L'Equipe, kind of consistent with reports from Spain, have said Real Madrid won't activate the buy option on him, and he will be sent back. But apparently to PSG. But apparently he's told people close to him that he has no intention at remaining at PSG, and his wife is keen on moving specifically to London. Apparently they've acquired a property there, so obviously if they bought they might have just bought one because the wife wants to live in London one day. The wife wants to go, they want to go there any sort of chance they have to go shopping and stuff. There could obviously be legs to it. Now obviously London, there's 3 teams he could be linked with. Spurs need a goalkeeper. Lloris is getting on a bit, You see how that one writes itself. Chelsea, allegedly with the Kepa stuff, another London club. It's there. Arsenal are the ones linked with him. You can see the point in this. Again, you cannot rule out, I don't think you can rule out a West Ham or something like that. I don't think he's there. And at Arsenal are poor, so I'm not being disrespectful. But I do think that is too much of a step down for him. But you never know. If they put ambition, if they put money on the table, things can happen. So I think that one is paper talk and just wasp. But who knows, people, really and truly, who knows? Moving away from goalkeepers and finally to centre-halves, the president of Reims is talking about Axel Disasi again, and is not afraid of talking about him, and seems to just want as much money as possible. He said, for now, and if there is nothing new, Axel is closer to the Premier League. Could it be Arsenal? Maybe. But I say no more because it is confidential data. Now, what is that, people? That's people saying Arsenal. That's indirectly saying Arsenal want him. Arsenal have probably been in talks for him. But I'm not going to disrespect Arsenal, disrespect my player, disrespect... apologies, people. My screen time's up. Disrespect all parties involved in this deal by telling everybody what's going on. Obviously Arsenal have been linked with him, and people find things out. We've been in talks or trying to get him and scouted him towards the end of last year. So yeah, it is probably a delicate operation. It's probably been slowed down or whatever. Or better yet, I don't know the progress of this because obviously COVID stuff. But you hear 15 million. That's something Arsenal need to do. He said it's confidential, and it's not just Arsenal when he says that will go on to a club from England, because Southampton have been linked with him. He did go on to say as well, people, he said, obviously again, he reiterated that he has a very important offer from an English club when pressed about the Seville interest. So again, his client will move to the highest bidder and make the right option, but they're in no rush because they know that's coming. Arsenal have been linked with a bunch of strikers, and we've been linked with Amin's, I can't say his name, but Guirassy, Serhou Guirassy, I can't say his first name, but what I know about him, forgive me if I'm wrong, he's 23, 24. I think he works the channels quite well. I think he works quite hard. He's not. I wouldn't say he's the most prolific this season. I think he's got 9 or 10 goals in 23 games. But he does, when he has scored, and last season when he did score, it had been some important goals sort of things within the context of the 90 minutes at that particular time. Now again, if scouts have said this is the guy, then it is what it is. You know, I'm about to say what I'm going to say now, but things can change. A year from now, he could look amazing. There was a moment in life where Aubameyang would not get into probably the top 10 teams in the Premier League, and I might be exaggerating, but now there's not a team he can't walk into in the league within context, people. From what I know of the striker, like I said, he works hard. You know, he puts himself about physically. He's, you don't want to get a foot race with him. He has, like I said, scored some important goals, but I don't think he's of the level really to sign him. Again, you know, if we've done our real due diligence and we sign him and we've scouted him to be that sort of level, then cool. But me as a fan, watching him at Amiens and here and there, I think he's decent. I don't think he's of the level to really help us. I don't see anything in his game to suggest he's going to get 20 league goals minimum, which for me is the sort of striker we need to be bringing in, or at least someone where we have more of a chance on that. So I'm not too sure on if it makes sense for us to go for him, but that's just me as a fan. Obviously, if he comes and does well, I'll be the first to hold up my hands and say, this is how I thought, but this is now how I think. But I just think I don't think he's really of the caliber right now to do that. But apparently, for what it's worth, we've been linked with him. It does scream like agents and middlemen are trying to engineer moves, because apparently his intermediary, I can never say that word, intermediary, I can't even say it, but the middleman, Mark McKay, has been sounding up potential moves for his client during the sporting lockdown, suggesting Arsenal could face stern competition for the club signature. So think about it. If you're trying to find interest for your client and you're saying Arsenal, you know, could miss out, you're trying to start a bidding war, you're trying to gas up your client. So again, this probably is the middleman forcing this more so than Arsenal, whatever. Or Arsenal, like you see, it doesn't matter if it's Arsenal, Chelsea, United, City, Liverpool. A lot of the top 6 teams, their names get thrown into things when they don't even want a player, or they've not even been interested in a player, purely because it drums up the price. His middleman allegedly said clubs might not be able to clubs might not be able to pay huge transfer fees like they used to, and in that respect, Serhou could prove to be a bargain in this window. His preference has always been to play in the Premier League, but Amiens will evaluate all offers that come in for him, and apparently there's been a couple of other Premier League teams in for him. So if Premier League teams are in for him and they know we've got money already, and we say one of the biggest teams in the league, you know, on that we're top 6, might not be the best, are interested in him, obviously that's probably a few more millies into the bid or into the opening statement and stuff. The president of the club has said, we have an arrangement with him. He stayed in the summer to help save the club, to save the club. We now have significant offers from England. So again, this is, I want to sell you to the highest bidder. I want to get money, you know. I want to, you know, we need to make funds to reinvest in our side or just to keep things going. So we'll see what happens in that regards. Finally, people, and I believe this is the final one, it's the same old rumour that's come again, but apparently Inter Milan, Arsenal, Everton and RB Leipzig are all interested in Veronia's young Albanian centre-half, Kambula. Now, I'm not watching him religiously, but those that are, and those that I speak to, and those that I've sought before making this vid, asked the man them who I've just called early in the morning, you know, they say he's got a little bit of potential. Again, I don't know nothing about the player really to comment, but apparently he's very composed and he's got a lot of characteristics you see in Albanian players, in Albanian nationals, in that he's very prideful, he fights for the cause, he's not phased, you know, he's got an ice cool mentality. Apparently he's one of them man there that love defending. I was told he has concerns about being able to concentrate and hold his positioning and keep it spot on for 90 minutes. He's still raw in certain aspects. I'm not too sure how good he is 1v1 or in the foot race, so I can't really comment. But, you know, he is young. He fits the profile, allegedly, so I can see why we're linked with him. And again, we might just be linked with him for the sake of it, so I'm not too sure what's happening in that regards. But moving on from that, I've got nothing more to add, so I'm going to get out of it. It's always a pleasure. People, Deluded, I'm out. Comment, subscribe, and do the rest.